what's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about the most infamous British gangsters. I really don't know much about British gangs, but I think this subject has gained a lot of popularity, especially with like TV shows like Peaky Blinders about gangs set in England. So today, I'm excited to learn about real life, notorious British gangsters and exactly what they were known for. So, let's take a look.
Number 10, Lenny McLean.
Oh my god! Oh my, look at this photo. What the heck? He looks like a real life comic book villain. Like, are you kidding me? Okay, Lenny McLean even has like a villainous name, Lenny McLean. This picture, this is a real person?
Frequently dubbed the hardest man in Britain,
Oh my
McLean was
God.
known to most people simply as the governor.
How are you gonna pay? Larry makes sure the administrative side of the business runs harmoniously.
What the heck? Okay, this is... I don't think they captured him on candid camera drowning a guy in a bucket. He was known as the governor. That's scary. He had that much power. And he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. He's literally the guy, like, sounds like he was in charge and the one tearing your head off if you did something wrong.
While his gangster credentials aren't as prominent as some, he did become Britain's most famous bare-knuckle street fighter, and reportedly one of the best. Throughout his career, McLean said to have fought in almost 4,000 matches, and to have won most of them.
This guy, I mean, he's obviously, I imagine he's committed a lot of crime and hurt a lot of people, but at the same time, you almost gotta respect it a little bit. What the heck? What a character. That literally, he looks like a crime boss. Like, I can't believe how much he fits the picture of what you would imagine. It's almost comical.
I used to mind the toughest clubs in Britain, all over the country. I had about 20,000 barroom brawls.
An important figure in the East End as a bouncer, bodyguard and enforcer, he often associated with people such as the Cray twins and Charles Bronson, before in his later life he worked as an actor.
He worked as an actor? Wait, there's actually, is this like real video of him? He worked as an actor after being a real life British gangster in thousands of bare-knuckle brawls. You can't make this up. What on earth? This does not disappoint. What?
I suggest you get those guns. Quick!
Number 9, Thomas McGraw.
Okay.
Born in Glasgow, Tam the licensee McGraw's criminal career started off with burglary and armed robbery, and he eventually became one of the most wanted men in Scotland.
Really?
In the 1980s, after
one of those most wanted men in all of Scotland. This looks like a dramatic recreation here, because that's like an actor playing him. But he looks a bit more, you know, wannabe suave or so. But he started out with carjacking. I'm not sure if he's as tough as Lenny McLean, this Thomas McGraw, at least physically.
After somehow avoiding a stint in prison after a failed robbery, he began to expand his criminal empire by selling heroin and purchasing numerous clubs and pubs. He was one of the key figures in
But apparently he rips people's wigs off and murders them. At least in that. Apparently they made a movie about this guy. He's such a big British gangster figure.
In Glasgow's ice cream wars, where violent confrontations become commonplace among criminals using ice cream vans as a front for drug sales.
No way. No freaking way. He helped made it common to have gang wars out of ice cream trucks. No way.
Number 8, Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson. That almost sounds a little familiar. I didn't imagine I would recognize any names from this list. Charles Bronson almost sounds a little familiar. Was he a boxer?
With his taste for fighting guards and inmates alike, Charles Bronson became known as Britain's most violent prisoner, and is one of British crime's most notorious figures.
I'm bigger than my name.
Born Michael Peterson, Bronson began as a petty criminal and was first imprisoned for armed robbery.
Wow. It's more fun when the bad guys here look the part. So this is like Tom Hardy playing him. Charles Bronson, I feel like I recognize him because of the really iconic sort of mustache and the boxing. I might have heard this name before.
Prison was finally a place where I could sharpen my tools.
Upon his release in 1987, he entered the world of bare-knuckle boxing, but his fighting career was fairly short-lived because 69 days later, he was in jail again. Out again in 92, he was arrested a third time for conspiracy to rob and has never been freed since.
Oh gosh, so he wasn't a particularly good gangster because he kept getting caught and put in prison, but he was the most, like, Britain's most violent prisoner, I think they said. Jeez.
And would you like a cup of tea too, mate?
Number 7, Freddie Foreman.
Okay.
He's best known as Brown Bread Fred, or the godfather of British crime, as many publications have come to refer to him, but Foreman says he's nothing like Marlon Brando.
All I wanted to do was make money so we could live a decent life.
One of the East End
Godfather of London. So he was like the godfather, petting his cat and making all the decisions, and scary.
gangster scene's most feared figures, he was close to the infamous Cray twins and was implicated in numerous murders and other criminal activities.
Oh, jeez.
Once you pull the trigger, you never know what's going to happen, so...
Though never actually convicted of killing anybody, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for disposing of the body of Jack the Hat McVitie, and later in...
Caught for disposing of a body. But he was a little more thoughtful, I think, about his criminal activity, because he wasn't ever caught for or linked to directly murdering anyone, I guess. God, scary. Scary, these types of figures, kind of operating in the background and like the Kingpin or something.
In relation to 1983's Shoreditch Security Express robbery.
I feel like if when my time's up, at least I've had an eventful life, if nothing else.
Oh my God. Oh my God. At least when his time's up, he's had an eventful life. Yeah, no kidding.
Number 6, Tommy Comerford.
Okay.
The hometown of the Beatles has had its share of shady characters.
Really?
This includes one of the first big business criminals to establish in England the kind of international drug trafficking network.
Are we talking about Liverpool? Tommy Comerford.
That you perhaps usually link to a mob overseas. Drug baron Tommy Tucker Comerford was instrumental in forming the first serious drug dealing cartel in Britain.
Oh my God. See, that's forming like a full-on drug cartel, like in Britain. That's very significant. That's horrible, by the way.
Made the Liverpool Mafia the richest in the country. His first stint in jail...
Wait. Mafia? There's a Liverpool Mafia?
In Britain, which made the Liverpool Mafia the richest in the country.
Oh.
His first stint in jail came after a bank robbery, and during his long criminal career, he was sentenced to more than 34 years behind bars.
Wow.
Number
Interesting. A lot of these famous gangsters actually spent huge portions of their entire life in jail, but are still, like, famous for all the gang activity they did. Okay. Jeez, so far this list is not disappointing. These are some scary figures in history. I've not heard of most of these. All right, number 5 here.
5, Desmond and Dominic Noonan. These two brothers were the head of one of Manchester's most infamous and ruthless gangs.
Manchester gang. This is like Desmond and Dominic Noonan, so they're brothers in crime? Literally?
Which by the late 1990s had become one of the most notorious crime families in the whole of Britain.
Oh.
We don't do everything nice, but you know we do look after each other. We look after our friends.
Involved in drug trafficking, nightlife security, and armed robbery, the Noonans' reign over Manchester's underworld lasted over 20 years.
By day it's run by police, by night it's run by gangsters. Manchester is where I was born, where I live, and where I'll die.
Sometimes I'm a little confused. Because they seem to have, like, interviews with a lot of these gangsters. They have, like, video coverage. Like, where the gangsters are like, yeah, we watch out for each other. I lived a long, happy life. When I die, I can say I accomplished a lot. Like, why? We're, like, interviewing them like they're, like, political figures or athletes or celebrities or something. It's a little weird.
During that time, they were also suspected of being responsible for more than 25 murders. Desmond was stabbed in 2005 and died of his wounds, while Dominic is currently serving 22 years in prison for arson, blackmail, and sex offences.
Oh my god, talk about a fitting end for a crime duo. One was, you know, they were in some deep stuff. Like, one was just stabbed to death, that's their end, and the other's just in jail for the rest of his life. Like, wow.
Shut up, I'll send someone out, I'll beat you up in a minute.
Number 4, Frankie Fraser.
Okay.
One of the most recognisable faces in modern British crime, Mad Frankie Fraser was a guy you didn't want to cross.
Mad Frank. This is a recognizable face. I've never seen him before, actually. I do not recognize this.
The police say I've killed 40 people, not 41. If they'd have said 41, I'd have really been upset. I hate odd numbers.
And the nickname...
Oh my god. See, it's so funny hearing some of them actually talk and, like, be a bit cheeky, honestly. Oh, I didn't kill 41, I killed 40. Get it right.
The nickname is not just for show. He was actually certified insane during a short prison stint after World War II.
He was actually insane. Like, it's bad enough having a notorious gangster. But then add that they all have to be a little insane on some level to be doing what they're doing. But among the gangsters, the infamous British gangsters, he's certifiably insane. That's scary.
A conflict he'd managed not to take part in by deserting. Fraser eventually became an enforcer for the Richardson Gang during the 60s and was reportedly involved in numerous episodes of torture and murder.
I allegedly pulled a guy's teeth out with pliers.
Dude, that's freaky. It's scary. Like, listen, he's talking about it so candidly. Like, I don't know if this is actually him or a recreation. But anyway, he's talking about it like, I had to pull out their teeth with pliers. Like, it's weird watching him say that and then thinking about him actually doing it. Like, that's disgusting. That's horrible. Horrible. And he's just like, whatever, sitting there like, yeah, had to pull out his teeth. You know, it is what it is.
I only wished it had been true.
His violence...
Okay. Whew. All right. Not true. Very good. I was getting hung up on that. We can move along.
...followed him in prison, where he would often start fights with other inmates and guards.
That is where I slung Eric Mason out with an axe in his head.
Number 3,
What?
the Gunn Brothers.
Oh, another pair of crime gangster brothers. And they're usually bald. That seems to be a trend as well. Somehow that, like, fits the look. Bald, maybe a mustache, maybe a nice suit, maybe some bare-knuckle fighting. Bam. Infamous British gangster.
Heads of the Bestwood Cartel, named after the Bestwood estate in Nottingham where they set up their criminal enterprise, brothers David and Colin Gunn became the city's foremost gang lords.
Really?
In the 1990s, the brothers had risen through the ranks from petty criminals to underworld figures, a rise largely unchallenged by the city's other criminals.
Drug trafficking,
Wow.
protection rackets, corruption, and murder became commonplace under their watch.
Seems like for all these British gangsters, drug trafficking, murder, that's how it generally kind of goes.
So much so that the city earned the nickname of Shottingham. As their empire
my
grew and drugs
God.
flowed in, Colin started becoming more and more violent and volatile, as steroids and cocaine use heightened his worst impulses.
Oh my god.
Under his watch, even innocents would pay the price of his crimes. Number 2,
Innocent people would get hurt in his wake because he's on steroid and cocaine up the wazoo. And innocent people would get hurt. That's horrible. But I don't know. Nothing really surprises me at this point with these British gangsters. We're almost at the end here. This is the number 2 on the list. Another set of brothers. Interesting how brothers tend to rise to the top of the crime family somehow.
the Richardson brothers. Charlie and Eddie Richardson were the leaders of what many still consider the most sadistic and ruthless gang in Britain, the Richardson Gang.
The Richardson Gang. I've never heard of that. They were the most sadistic. The one you wanna stay away from gangs, but the one that's known as the most sadistic and torturous, you'd almost want to go with the other guy who's certifiably insane, other than the weird torture gang.
They were often simply referred to as the Torture Gang due to their preferred way of settling scores and intimidating rivals and transgressors. After holding mock trials, their victims could be subject to electric shocks, teeth pulling using pliers, toe cutting, or even being nailed to the floor. The Richardsons controlled South London, but ended up in a feud with the Krays that lasted into the mid-60s.
Oh my god, it's disturbing, like, hearing it all like this.
The Richardsons, they were frighteners, really vicious people.
Their whole strategy was be the scariest, so you wouldn't cross them, I guess. The scariest and most willing to do pretty sick stuff to people.
Number 1. The Kray Twins.
Oh, this is number 1. And it's not just brothers, but twins. The Kray Twins. All right, I've never heard of them either.
The most infamous gangsters to ever call London home, Ronnie and Reggie Kray were the most prominent criminals in the city's East End over the 1950s and 60s.
Wow. Oh, were they identical twins? Also played by Tom Hardy, I see. I think I've even heard of this movie where Tom Hardy played like twins. I had no idea that was based on a real story about the Kray twins. I had no idea.
Wow, no.
Armed robbery, hijacking, murder, and general violence were only some of the brothers' specialities, while heads of their own gang, the Firm. As owners of several nightclubs in the 60s, they became part of the swinging London scene and gained a certain amount of celebrity, even appearing on national television.
So are they like the most infamous or famous, like London-based criminals, gangsters, if you will?
But they were finally arrested in 1968 and essentially spent the rest of their lives in prison.
Really? That's it. Oh, what's he doing with those hammers? So yeah, funny enough, or not surprising, I guess. A lot of these infamous gangsters did end up eventually like getting caught and going to jail, which is good. I don't know what he's doing with these hammers though.
A joke for you. You love this one. Paranoid schizophrenic who walks into a bar.
Oh man, this movie might be worth checking out now that I know what the whole premise is based on.
Do you agree with our picks?
Oh my god.
Check out these other great clips from Watch.
Oh my god. That was disturbing. But also, you know, in a way, you can't help but be a little curious about this kind of stuff. So this was by Watch Mojo UK, and I'll give it a like. I did enjoy that in a sick kind of way. I don't know. Learning about this true crime, infamous British gangsters was actually pretty interesting and disturbing. I didn't know anything about British gangs, although I know there's a lot of movies and TV shows based on that topic. And I think it's because there's a lot of material. Oh my god. This was pretty fascinating to learn about 10 infamous British gangsters and a little bit about them. I enjoyed this for what it was. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with your thoughts on any of these British gangsters. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and British culture and stuff about Britain I've never learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.